Hello and welcome to Handgun Radio. I'm your host, Ryan Machad from the wild woods of central Maine, and this is your home for all the news, information, and discussion in the handgunning world. This week, we discuss the making. Oh, whoops, hold on. Good Lord. Let's try that again. This week, we discuss making the most of your gun store experience and choosing a trainer. So, as always, Handgun Radio is brought to you by the Firearms Radio Network. And please check out the Patriot Patch Company for their awesome patches and other high quality items. Visit patriotpatch.co for more information. And the cool artist proof renditions are coming on the nice postcard material, as always. This past patch of the month actually was an awesome hand holding a lighter and 3 fireworks. So be sure to go check that out. Really cool stuff. You really enjoy it. Also, shop Amazon using our affiliate link at firearmsradio.tv/Amazon. And please help support Handgun Radio. Head over to firearmsradio.tv/pledge and click on HGR. There are a bunch of different pledge levels, and we really appreciate it. So, Weird, how you doing this week?
I'm doing okay. How you doing, Ryan?
Not bad. What did you do this week?
I did a lot of podcast stuff, and I got some sort of stomach bug, honestly. So I really wasn't out and about too much. But yeah. And
how's the podcast going? We don't really talk about it that much. Come on.
Share no, the podcast is going well. We're actually, so for those that don't know, and actually probably for everyone who's listening to us live, they don't know at all, but I am giving away a 9mm AR-15 lower to our Patreon patrons on the show.
Really?
Yeah.
You are?
Yes.
Yep. Why haven't you told me about this?
I don't know, because you're not a Patreon patron, so you're not going to win.
I've never actually used Patreon. I really need to start doing that.
I've only used it in the fact that now I've got a Patreon group, so I need to use it more. I need to figure it out, but I don't know. I don't know. It's a new medium for me. But yeah, when I was down at Dallas at the Gun Collective, which was the closest thing to a Firearms Radio Network get together that they had.
I wish I could have seen that thing. Oh my God.
It was
every year the Gun Collective has that. And if you can go to it, like absolutely go to it. John Patton and everybody that gives him help. I mean, they do a great service to the firearms industry, and they really, really need to spread the word of what they do. I mean, they really do a great job.
Yeah, it was a good time. And yeah, I was in one of the I did Truth or Lie with Sean Heron and got it correct, and my prize was a 9mm AR lower.
That is awesome. Now, what's the legality of getting that back to Massachusetts?
I can't, so that's why it's never coming into Massachusetts. And I was like, I told the guys, I said, I'm from Massachusetts. So like, oh, you can get a strip lower. And then I think somebody else chimed in and went, well, we can give you store credit if it doesn't work out. And I thought about it and went, you know what? This will be a great thing to give away to the nice people who are helping support me in my new show.
Well, that's awesome.
That's assortedcalibers.com, Assorted Calibers podcast. So go check that out. And if you want to join our Patreon, it's under no obligation, but it's good times. Also, next week, I will be cutting together every month I put out a blooper reel of all the stuff that's on the cutting room floor at the end of the show. And this one's going to be, I think, pretty hilarious. So it'll be a good time.
Awesome. So I have to, first off, if you hear a fan noise in the background, my apologies. We try to strive for audio excellence on Handgun Radio. However, it is hotter than hell right now in Maine, and it's supposed to be upwards of 101 degrees tomorrow. So,
oh man,
yeah. Sorry about that, but I don't want to die while I'm doing the show. So,
well, I mean, I'm the one that just mentioned I've been having some stomach problems, so my audio might not be great either.
Turn your mic off, please, sir. No. So I had my birthday bash. My wife helped me put that together. We had a good weekend. We had live music. My band set up, and we played here in the backyard. We had a nice big fire. I put 5-pound pork shoulder on the smoker when we had applewood smoked pulled pork.
What kind of a smoker do you have?
I have two. I have a Brinkmann charcoal smoker and an electric Brinkmann smoker.
So the electric one, do you just put like the pellets in, or
how does that work? Bottom of it? I don't know if you're supposed to cover the heating element with the lava rocks, but I put like lava rocks in the bottom and then the lava rocks go on the top. That's what it came with, was lava rocks. And I did find that yesterday, I haven't used it in a while, so it may just like be getting old and maybe defective, or I just might need a new heating element. But it didn't seem to get the new lava rocks really super hot. So I ended up tossing, someone on the smokers forum suggested using like a pie plate, metal pie plate, and punching some holes in it and putting a few bricks of charcoal in.
Yep.
To heat it up. And that
actually, yeah, you might just need a new element. Those elements, I mean, because they get so hot, so they oxidize really fast. So, I mean, just honestly speaking, just take it apart and look. I mean, if the element looks like it's a bunch of nice uniform holes, then it's an electric element. So
yeah, it's just like a big friggin' stove coil almost.
Yeah, it might even be a stove coil. So,
but it works. I mean, the port came out good. I should have probably replaced the water in the water bowl a little bit more often because it did get a little dry, I think. But I was a little bit worried at the beginning because it wasn't getting hot enough. And so I was like, man, I may need to put this in the oven because I can't be cooking this for 12 hours. I started it at 11 a.m. and the party was supposed to be like ready for 7. So, but overall, it ended up being a really good weekend. Had a great time. I might share a few pictures on the Handgun Radio page just to show people. You're going to be getting this a week later, so sorry. Also got 100 rounds of 9mm from my dad for my birthday, and a nice Smith & Wesson T-shirt.
Nice. What's on this? Just the logo or anything
good? Smith & Wesson with the big SW logo.
Nice.
Black with white letters. And then I tonight actually just replaced the batteries in my dad's Kimber Micro 9. He got the gun, we shot it, then all of a sudden the laser stopped working. So he was like, the batteries couldn't have run out. And I said, Dad, it could have sat on a shelf for God knows how long, and who knows who's messed with the switch and whatnot. So I ended up changing it out, and it was very easy to do. It just took one grip panel off, popped.
These are Crimson Trace?
Yeah, Crimson Trace laser grips. The LG 409 model, I believe. But I just took one side off, popped this little battery plate off, popped both batteries out, put the new ones in. The hardest part was opening the package of new batteries. You need a degree in engineering for that, but...
What kind of batteries did it take?
2032, the button cell batteries.
Okay.
And turn it back on, battery laser as bright as ever, and everything's all good.
So I've never really messed around with these too much. Does it need to be re-zeroed after that, or does it maintain the zero when you take the grip off to service the batteries?
I don't know that because I never had the chance to zero it originally.
Okay.
We only went out. My dad just wanted to make sure the gun ran, and I just wanted to make sure it ran too because it's a Kimber. I got to give them credit. The gun works really well. People might have problems with them, but I've also kind of heard from quite a few people that have Kimbers and don't have any problems. So, and they commented on the Facebook page too. So they're active on social media. So I can't imagine that they wouldn't be pretty responsive if you were having issues.
Yep.
But this gun works great. We just never really zeroed it in. We went out and made sure that it has fantastic sights on it. I'm going to post a picture. I took a couple pictures after I put the batteries in. I'll post a picture of what the laser looks like and then the sights on the pistol. It's really small, but it has really great sights. I mean, they are just standard 3-dot white sights, but they're not bad for a pistol that size.
That's the big thing these days. People are putting nicer sights on the micro guns.
Right.
Again, car started that off, but the rest of the world followed.
So weird. The drink segment this week.
So I just got back from dinner actually. So it's Father's Day when we're recording this. Did you do anything for Father's Day?
We had a barbecue with my family, so we had 2 parties. We had my birthday party on Saturday with the fire and the music. And then Sunday, we had all the family over for a barbecue.
Nice. Yeah, I broke out the grill. I actually cleaned my grill with a pressure washer. I am
exhausted.
That was a whole lot of fun, and had cooked some burgers on the grill, and then for dinner we went out to a local place just up the street from here. that just opened up. It's only been around for maybe a couple months, and we haven't been to see it. And it's really good. Like our socks were knocked off. And also, like the first thing they came in, and I saw that oh my god, they've got like there was a bottle of Back River gin, which is the Maine made gin. Is it Back River? I think it is. I got to look that up real quick.
We just had a restaurant open down in Waterville, and everybody's so excited about it. Portland Pie Company is down 146 Main Street, Bob.
Oh, it's Portland Pie. Yeah,
Portland Pie, right across from the Colby dorm.
They make really good pizza.
They're one of the few restaurants in downtown that actually have normal beer on tap, which is one of my big irritants. There's like 2 or 3 that have normal beer, and there's like 2 or 3 that you go in and you're like, yeah, I'd like a Budweiser draft or something else. Oh, we don't have that. We have that in bottle, but it's $5. I'm like, all right, thank you. I'm never coming here again.
Yeah, double checked. It absolutely is too, because I just had a quick look at was looking at the back bar, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's the gin that's from Maine. That's really good. Back River gin, made by Sweetwater Distillery or Sweetgrass Distillery, right up the street from you, Bob.
Oh yeah,
and they yeah. So I'm like, man, they've got like they had a nice selection of bottles. It was a serious bar. Like you could tell the serious bar versus the not serious bar. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to look at the cocktail menu, and there was a bunch of cocktails to look at. But I was so perplexed by this one, and it's called the Farm Girl Nancy. This might be like unique to them, because I did a quick search on it and couldn't find that. There might be a similar drink, but it's made with mezcal, which is a tequila variant. I'd need to look it up. I'd actually forget the difference of, I think it's how they roast it's called a pineapple, the pina of the agave. I believe they roast it in a fire for mezcal, and they roast it in an oven for tequila. So it's got a much richer, smokier taste to it. Muddled cucumber and ginger, lime juice, and then honey simple syrup. And then it was served in a coupe glass. And it wasn't my favorite, because I'm kind of straight and narrow in the tequila world. I'm really just a Blanco tequila guy. I don't really like the Anejos and the Reposados. And so this mezcal wasn't really tickling my fancy, but it was and I was kind of hoping for a little bit more of a spicy ginger note to it. But it was still a really good drink. And if you like mezcal, or you like your Reposado or Anejo tequilas, then this would definitely be something that you would enjoy. It was a very, very easy drinking drink.
That's the next like path I need to go down, is learning all the different tequilas. And I mean, my experience is probably ends with the El Toro with the cowboy hat on it.
Yeah. No. That's the whole, I think I talked about this in an earlier show, but so the vast majority of the stuff that you've thrown up at frat houses in your life, the garbage.
It's a good way of describing it.
So your Jose Cuervos, your El Toros, your Pepe Lopez, the stuff that like, you know, young people who might be of age or not quite be of age, who can scrounge together enough money to get a bottle of something, they're usually going to buy this stuff. That's called mixto tequila. And that is, for it to be declared tequila, it needs to be at least 51% blue agave in the mash, I guess you could say. I don't really know where they grade the percentage, where it comes from, but essentially your Cuervos and your Lopez's and your El Toros and those others mixtos, they they get the 51% and 51% only, and then the rest of it's probably like sugarcane liquor. It's just whatever's the cheapest stuff they can cook up. And so it has a glimmer of the flavor of tequila, but it to quote Douglas Adams, it is something that is almost but not quite completely unlike tequila. So when you actually have like your first tequila that says 100% blue agave on it, that stuff will be head and shoulders above anything else that you've had that doesn't have that on the bottle. And the difference is going to be so much that you are literally going to be like, what is this? Like, this is something new that I've never had before. Like, it's not like, drinking, Lord Calvert Canadian whiskey. Ugh, that was like the cheapest garbage that I used to drink in college. But like drinking like a garbage whiskey and then turning around and drinking a good whiskey, they all still taste like whiskey, just one's considerably grosser. Tequila, it's like it's just off the chain different.
Well, real quickly because this isn't liquor radio,
but it could be.
We could do another podcast. No, I got a bunch of whiskey for my birthday, which was what I asked for. I'd like different types. And so I got a bunch of Evan Williams, which is my favorite standard whiskey, bourbon. And then someone got me a gift pack of Maker's Mark with one standard bottle and one of the Maker's 46. And I tried the Maker's 46 first because I've never actually tried Maker's Mark, but I know Weird has not given it a high marks before.
It is a perfectly fine bourbon. I think it is vastly overpriced and overrated. I think a lot of people get very, very excited about Maker's Mark, and I don't get it.
Pay a lot for that wax on the top.
And there's a lot of money that goes into it. It is not a reasonably priced bourbon, especially when you taste the quality of it. Versus something like we talked about Evan Williams, we talked about Old Granddad. Those are very reasonably priced bourbons, and my goodness, they are severely underrated. Like,
I would fully expect Evan Williams to be $16.99.
Yeah, no, it's a surprisingly good bourbon.
It's like New Amsterdam.
Yes, yeah, New Amsterdam's another one of those like diamond in the rough. Like, I can't remember why I bought New Amsterdam for the first time I ever did, but like I saw the price tag and I'm like, I know I'm making a mistake here.
Yeah, and then you try it and like, oh my God.
Yeah, this is a really, really good gin. Like they do it right. Like I don't really know what the difference is between, Gilbey's, which costs almost the same as New Amsterdam, or your Lord Calvert or Old Crow. Though I've heard Old Crow might be different now that Jim Beam's taken it over. At some point we need to get daring and buy a bottle of Old Crow and see if it's as awful as it was when I was in college and got a 3-day hangover.
The Maker's 46 is what I'm having right now, and it is fantastic. It has a nice smoky taste to it, and I was reading a review online, and he said a nice buttery palate presents heavy oak, caramel, cinnamon, and light, fresh baked wheat bread. I don't know about the bread part, but you can definitely taste the first taste that I got was like a sweet maple syrupy cinnamon taste. And I said, thank God this isn't Fireball.
Well, if it's just a light cinnamon, you'll get that from the oak wood.
Yeah, it was good though.
And the maple syrupy business, well, that might be some of like the vanilla notes that come out of the wood. I wonder if he said wheat bread, right?
Yeah.
Is that from one of the makers, or what's the
it was just a random review on like bourbonjournal.com or something.
Okay, if it was from the manufacturer, I wonder if it would mean for bourbon to be bourbon, it needs to be 51% corn in the mash. And as a general rule, most of the people tend to be going much, much higher. Like I'm betting 80 or 90% corn. It's almost pure corn is most of your bourbons, but some people will mix some other stuff in. Like I think it's Basil Hayden, I believe, uses a bunch of rye. There's a bunch of rye in it. So that gives it a little bit more of a spicier note. And I could see that. Cause I would say Basil Hayden is it's definitely a bourbon, but I argue that it's a bourbon that a Scotch drinker would like. And then, others they add some different stuff. So I wonder if it's a little bit more of a wheat. There's more wheat in the mash.
Remember, everybody, every Handgun Radio is a lifestyle show as well as a handgun show.
It's true. All right, let's start talking about some guns.
So with that, we'll head into the main topic, making the most of your gun store and training experience. All right, so I thought this would be a good thing. We visited this a long time ago. I think we discussed gun store etiquette, that type of thing, and this can transfer to gun show. If you come up with anything during the discussion weird, this applies to gun shows too. And then we had a friend of the show, Nick at Practically Tactical, contributed a little bit because I am not going to BS you guys. I am not someone who has taken a lot of training, and I do not think that I am qualified to speak on how to pick a trainer for various things. I know that I should. I just, with my family and everything, I don't have the time. But I'm not going to say that I know everything there is to know. So we asked the professionals here. So Weird, what are you doing here?
What am I?
I'm
what?
just kidding. Sorry.
Oh, I'm under the bus. That's what I'm doing. I'm checking the differential for leaks.
You did say I was full of piss and vinegar tonight, so
you really are. You're uppity.
So we basically just listed a bunch of stuff, do's and don'ts, I think, for your gun show or your gun store and gun show experience. Number one, don't be afraid to ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
I'm someone who goes into a store and I hate when the people who work there ask me if I need anything. So I'm the one who needs to be told this. If you need help, ask for it. Mm-hmm. There are people there who know things. Don't be afraid. Don't be embarrassed. Don't think that they're going to think, oh, well, you don't know what you're talking about. I mean, no one knows everything. And that's something we kind of get on to later, but just don't be afraid to ask anybody for help. That's why they're there.
Yeah. And part of being, in a gun shop is, that's the whole point. That's their job. Their job is to help sell you a gun, help you deal with a gun. And so that's what they do. They do this all the time. So yeah, ask for help, and don't worry about because don't worry about asking a super stupid question because they've heard worse.
Yes. And also following up on that, don't be an a-hole.
Yes.
Don't go in there. You don't know everything. Mm-hmm. Nobody knows everything. Be kind, say please and thank you. Granted, if you're not getting good help, then talk to the management or whatever, but don't get pissed off because someone is super busy at the counter and they just can't run right over to you. Mm-hmm. A lot of questions at the gun store take a lot of explanation and some demonstration. And don't rush the employee that's trying to do that for another customer because that other customer probably needs that demonstration. I mean, you don't want people walking out of here not knowing what they're doing with these things.
Yeah, and you don't want to be getting the answer to a complicated question that maybe you are having a real hard time getting your head around how this works or that works and all that, and have some jerk coming up behind you and pestering the guy and distracting everybody.
Right.
Also, another a-hole thing to do is, on the whole idea is don't be the know-it-all and don't disregard help because you might not even know the help that you might need. So if they're trying to explain something to you, don't brush them off and puff up your chest.
I love my local shop, A&G Shooting and Supply, and I will give them a plug because one of their employees, a friend of mine, he doesn't work there too much anymore, but from time to time, an older fella came in. I was just in there looking around. He came in with an AR-15 he had bought somewhere else, had never given them any business whatsoever. Sean spent the time to show him how to pull the gun down, which parts to clean. Sean's prior military, which parts to clean, everything, how to do a function check and everything once he got it reassembled. And the guy had never made a purchase at the shop. But the fact is, by doing that, he's showing that guy we care about the customer. And guess where that guy's going to go when he needs to buy a box of ammo, when he needs to buy a sling, or a gun bag or something, he's going to go back to that shop. So if a gun store, I mean, yeah, you know, the saying the customer is always right only goes so far. I get that. But like having that sort of customer focused attitude is going to go a long way towards making a successful gun store.
And on the same ideas, I'm one of the guys that I'm a tire kicker. I will stop by, especially I used to on my drive home from work, used to go right past my favorite shop. And so like I would stop, and this was before my daughter was born. So I would be like driving home from work and be like, oh, I'm just gonna go stop it and kick the tires. You know, I guess I probably didn't need to because I've definitely given them a ton of business, but I always tend not to leave empty-handed when I go into a especially if it's a small shop. You know, if you're swinging by your local, I don't know, you stop by your Cabela's, they're fine, you're good. But if you're going into your mom and pop shop where they're just a little small, gun counter in a storefront, I like to not leave empty-handed. Pick up some targets, pick up some cleaning solution, pick up a box of 22. Just grab something so that just so you're moving some product while you're in there, taking up their time and doing things like that, so that it's the money's flowing in the right direction.
That ties into something I had listed down the line, because I said, try to support your local gun store in little ways, even if you aren't buying a gun. I mean, I go into my local shop, and like the guy that works there as the manager will message me, hey, we just got the Colt Cobra in, or hey, we just got this latest gun that just came out. And I'll go up there, and then they have used stuff that's in the case too. So I'll take a bunch of pictures of that. I'll post it on the page. People check it out. It's a weird gun. You've never seen it. I mean, they had a cop Derringer up there at one point. Why the hell would that be up in Maine? It was like $500.
Oh,
did I think?
Oh man, I would have been tempted. Probably not. Not.
It was huge. It was huge.
They're gigantic. They are a very, very large gun.
Then they had one of those sweet little high standard 38 double action Derringers that's got like the weird press in trigger.
Oh yeah.
It's got a squirt gun trigger, and that thing worked great. I mean, it was cool. You go up and take pictures there. But when I would leave, I'd be like, give me a box of 22, or I'd buy a box of shotgun shells or a holster. Or they have they have this awesome string game over in the corner. All the guns that sit in the used case and won't sell, they tie with string, and it's like one of those claw games. You put $1 in, and if you cut the string and the gun drops, you get the gun.
Nice.
Yeah. So like they post a picture every couple weeks. Like someone won a Glock 43 a couple weeks ago. Someone won a Makarov, a few other things, but yeah, they make a lot of money off that machine, I'm sure.
Have you ever played it?
Yeah, I have never won. I think I've put like $20 in that over the course of time.
Nice.
But
how much is it to play?
$1.
Wow, that's actually a pretty reasonable idea. I think most of the garbage ones that you see at like truck stops aren't that much.
The last guy that won a Glock 42 for $7.
Pretty cool.
Because he was able to cut the string with it.
That's a good price.
It's a really hard game though.
Oh yeah.
It's really not easy.
I don't play those things because I've done it twice. Like I went one place. Oh, that looks super easy. That didn't work. That didn't work.
I don't know, man. Even if you win, like imagine if you won like a 1911 for like imagine a 1911 for like $70. I mean,
be pretty cool.
You'd have to win it at some point.
No, you wouldn't.
So yeah, definitely support your local gun store. Even buy targets, buy earplugs, buy slings. I don't know, buy something. Buy a magazine.
Yeah, you could always use more magazines.
The other thing is know your prices before going in.
This is a big one.
And this kind of ties in with the next one about a gun store still being a business with a bottom line. This happens with me in the music world because I go into a music store and, I have a piece of gear that I want to trade. And I know what I paid for the piece of gear. And I trade it in and they're like, well, I can give you this. And you have to know, A, what the value is, and B, what it's worth to you. Are you using it? Is it something that's, has it depreciated in value because of use? And can the guy that's going to buy it from you flip it? Because if you're bringing in something that's just beat to hell, they can't flip that, and they're not going to keep it in their case because their space is valuable. Mm-hmm. You just have to understand that a gun store is still a business. Even if you know the person, even if they're very friendly with you, they have a bottom line. They have employees to pay. They have taxes to pay, fees to pay to the government for whatever license they need. It's so just know your prices before going in. Don't go in and, if you go into a gun store and if you know the price, the standard MSRP of a revolver is $550 and they're selling it for $600, kind of have an idea as to what the average price is. It's very easy nowadays where you have Gun Broker and all these various things on the internet to know what the going price for a particular firearm is.
Mm-hmm. And that'll also get rid of the sticker shock, which I'm sure could also be delightful to the employees as well. But I think that's one of the reasons why I think a lot of the more subpar gun makers, you get a lot of sales, is someone goes in and they see, oh my God, this is, $500. And they panic, and then they just go for the cheapest thing there is, oh, that's a gun, I'm going to buy that. And probably while the employee's going, well, this one, they're looking at a Glock, and the Glock is, they're balking at the price of a new Glock or a used Glock. Then maybe they turn around and let's have a look at the Ruger Security 9. It's similar, but it's, a much more value priced gun. And meanwhile, they're looking at the high points, and it's not even in the same league. And
right.
So yeah, know your prices.
Yeah. Go in there knowing, number one, what the quality is that you want. And number two, what you're going to spend.
Also, by knowing your prices, also when that deal of the century comes in, like my Carry 1911, I got that thing for a steal. And like literally when I saw the price of that gun, I started doing a function test on it, but I realized I don't care. Like unless someone's been, milling the feed ramp and I'm going to need to buy a whole new frame, there's nothing that's going to be wrong with this gun that I can't fix and still be ahead of the game.
And if you're someone who is just getting into firearms and doesn't have, weird enough, we can go buy a gun and, maybe I might have that in my box of holsters. I might have a holster for that. Factor in the cost of a decent holster. Mm-hmm. You can go buy a brand new gun and it's all nice and shiny, but it ain't going to be worth a damn if you don't have a good holster to carry it with.
Yep.
It's not a good holster, because you do not want to be getting shot in your leg with your own gun.
Or chasing your gun across the mall parking lot.
Yeah, or dancing with it and dropping it on the damn dance floor.
Oh, God.
So, yeah, I don't even know what was going on with that. But buy a good holster, factor in that. And also factor in extra magazines if you're talking about a semi-auto. It's not just ammunition that you need to buy. Extra magazines are a huge, huge thing. Magazines are the number one point of malfunction for a semi-auto pistol.
Mm-hmm. And they are consumable items.
Yeah, exactly.
They are going to be some of the first parts to wear out.
Someone gifts you an old Smith & Wesson with the original magazine. You might want to buy 2 or 3 more, because that one probably is worn out.
Yep. I mean, you were shooting my little Colt Best Pocket 25, and that thing was jamming like crazy, and there was 110% magazine issues. And I just, unfortunately, I hadn't shot that gun in years, because now I've got my little Beretta. That's my teeny tiny gun itch scratcher, and so I've got another magazine for it somewhere.
You need to start a James Bond gun collection. You need to get the Beretta in 25. You need to get the PPK in 32.
So interestingly enough, what I've got is actually the almost James Bond collection, where I've got the double action 21A that's very similar to the Beretta Jetfire that 25 that Bond carried. I've got the Radom P64 in 9mm Makarov, which is very similar to the 32 Walther PPK that Bond carried. What I want is like a Walther P99 clone of some sort, but not made by Walther. It needs to be like the S&W 99 or a Janik or one of those guns as that. Of course, it's Massachusetts, so that's very difficult. There's a bunch of Smith & Wesson 99s around there, but that would round out the collection nicely.
That would be fantastic. So the other thing here we have listed for gun show, gun store etiquette is muzzle control. Yeah, don't be pointing the gun at anybody else.
Yep, you don't want to have a gun pointed
at a customer. Someone has said before that all these gun stores have animal heads on the wall for a reason. Don't point them at other people. The gun may be unloaded. You may know that. The person across the counter doesn't.
Oh, another one too. You were just talking about lasers too. Get down with some darn laser etiquette. That is one thing that I hate is people are super duper slapdash when it comes to lasers. And guess what? You shine that into somebody's eye and they could have permanent vision loss.
You see that guy shoot himself in the hand because his laser wouldn't work?
Oh, I didn't see that one.
Yeah, I'll find the video. There's a great video of some older fella getting some training on some indoor range, and the laser's not working, and he uses his hand to test whether the lasers work. He puts one through his hand.
Wonderful.
Yep.
There's so lasers and muzzle control. But yep. Aim at the floor. I'm a big fan of pointing at the floor, and so I'll look down, see if I can find a water spot on the carpet, and that's where I make my sight picture, and that's where I test the trigger.
Make sure the firearm is clear.
Make sure the firearm is clear.
Store handshake.
Yep.
What is the gun store handshake? Weird.
I'm actually not familiar with that term.
Never heard that? The gun store handshake. It is the, hey, can I see that 1911? Yep. Pulls it out, opens it up, turns it around, hands it to me with the grip first. I look at it with the slide back. That's the gun store handshake.
Yep.
Check the gun. If the person opens it, then closes it, and he hands it to you, open the damn gun. It takes you less than 2 seconds, 0.2 seconds, and it prevents you from putting a round through somebody when you don't want to.
Yep. No, one thing that got me to think about this when I put this in the show notes was there's a guy from Glasgow PD. I forgot where it is. I think it was Virginia, West Virginia, somewhere around there. I might be completely wrong on that. I need to look it up. But this guy, he was a police officer and he was looking at some sort of 380. It looks to me like it's like a SIG 238, the Colt Mustang. It was before the SIGs, the Kimbers came out, but the gun store employee pulls the gun out of the case and just sets it down, doesn't open it. The police officer picks it up. He doesn't open it. After a while, he racks the slide. Interestingly enough, no round comes out of the ejection port. So obviously the gun, and then the next thing happens is he's looking at the gun. He's kind of cradling in his hands, and then he decides to test the trigger and blows off at least one of his fingers. And so obviously the gun had a magazine with at least one round in it, nothing in the chamber. And that all could have been solved by him locking the slide back, or at least checking the barrel, checking and dropping the magazine, checking the barrel. It's so quick. Do it. And then also at the same time, be nice. Lock the slide back on, when you're handing it back to the employee. It doesn't need to be, they're as safety conscious as you are, probably more so because they're handling guns all day, every day. So even though they know that the gun's unloaded, they handed it to you. They saw that you did not load the gun, but then for you to turn around and point the gun at them, that's unsettling no matter what you are.
Some people are like, well, it doesn't matter. It's like it takes you less than 1/10 of a second. Just do it.
Mm-hmm. And God forbid there's that one time, like I mentioned when I was buying my vest pocket, guy handed it to me and I said, cool. And I cleared it and out popped a Glazer safety slug. And I just went, oh, okay. Well, I'm glad I did that because that could have been very bad if I decided to test the trigger.
I just don't understand it. It's like it takes so little effort. I don't understand why people won't do things that take so little effort that, even if they weren't needed, that perhaps in the future they could have prevented an issue.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to check. Just check the damn gun. Even if you've checked it before, check it again. Because guess what? That one time that you say, screw it, I'm not going to check it. There's going to be a round in the chamber, and you're going to put a round where you don't want it to be.
Nope. I'm one of those guys. I always check the the gun. Like I will be out and about doing stuff, and I'll be like, oh, I gotta, I'm wearing long pants today. I'm gonna change my pants. I'm gonna change into shorts, and I will go into my room, shut the door. So now I'm the only one in the room. I'll take the gun out of my pocket, set it on the bed, change my pants with the gun in full view the whole time, and I will do a press check before I put it back in because, it's just it doesn't help. I always press check no matter what I know the status of the gun to be.
Right. I'm
whether,
sorry.
Whether it's one of my carry guns that are always loaded, or whether it's one of my one of my guns that's not a carry gun, and those are almost always unloaded. And so, yeah. So when I'm opening the action on my Mosin Nagants before I take them out to the range, or when I'm showing them to somebody, yeah, those guns, they're never going to be loaded. But guess what? I'm checking to make sure that they're loaded. And the same thing when I put my 1911 on this morning, I checked the chamber to make sure that it was still loaded. It was still loaded. I've had a friend that came home at the end of the day, and I can't remember if he decided to clean the gun or whatever, but he checked the chamber and went, oh my God, I've been carrying an unloaded gun all day.
I don't understand why people are like, don't check it. It doesn't matter. Like, you've checked it once. It's fine. It's like, what the hell does it hurt to check the damn gun?
Mm-hmm.
What does it hurt? I'm sorry, but I don't get it.
I don't get it either.
In my last one here, and this will probably be where I get all pissed off, recommending the snubby to the little old lady.
Mm-hmm.
The 38 snubby in particular. Not all women want a 38 snub nose.
Nope.
Some women are better served by a Glock 43. Also, some women are educated and they know what's going on.
Some women absolutely love 45s. I've known several slight women who absolutely love 45s. That's their chosen caliber, and they're not even caliber warriors. Like, okay, I carry a 45. I am a reformed caliber warrior. I've still got some vestigial caliber warrior in me still. There's the 45. It's the great big round, and I'm 45 plus P. But no, I've known some women that 45 is a very, very soft shooting round, and it's got good recoil impulse. The guns are going to be built a little bit different than 9mm, so they feel good in their hands. Some people like a nice full grip to the gun as well. So something like a 45. The female friend of mine, she's Chinese descent, so she is very slight in build, but she has an M&P 45, and she loves it. She likes how the grip feels in her hand, and likes the recoil of 45. So you never know what the person's going to be like. And also at the same time, yeah, sometimes they do like the 38 snub nose. But I would actually say if I worked at a gun store counter, I'd let the lady come to me with that question rather than that be the first thing I'd go to.
If you are ever in any shop and you hear them doing that, if you feel comfortable, leave.
Mm-hmm.
If you feel more comfortable, tell them why they're wrong. But regardless of sex or size or anything, firearms are universal. It doesn't matter whether you're a man or a woman or anything else. They work the same for everybody. And yes, granted, there are big differences between men and women physiologically, height, stature, weight, muscle strength, everything. So, one gun that works for my wife, who's really small and petite, might not work for someone who's really built. It's just a difference in physiological stature and everything else. And so there are plenty of guns out there that work for them, but just recommending in general to women a 38 snubby is BS. I mean, I shoot a 38 snubby and that thing's a handful. Imagine giving that to somebody who doesn't know a damn thing about what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, even my Ruger LCR, I talk about what a tame gun it is to shoot. And it's probably one of the easiest 38 snubbies or 357 snubbies out there to shoot. It is still an expert's gun. It is still something that, like, no, you don't want that to be the first gun that you ever touch off, even with light 38s in it.
So, and then moving in real quick here, we have choosing a trainer. Now, on Handgun Radio here, like I said earlier, we know to stay in our lane. I am not someone who can really talk to you much about training specifically. In general, yes, but not very specifically. So I asked my friend Nick from Practically Tactical. We have a link in the show notes. They have a really great show over there, weekly show. They have incredible trainers, William Petty and a bunch of others, links and stuff. So be sure to go check out their stuff. But I asked him, I said, so someone walks up to you and says, what are the top 3 qualities that you would want when you were looking into, where am I going to train? Who am I going to train with? Number 1 was an instructor who still trains. And I agree with that. My belief is you never know enough. You can always learn something new. You can always learn variations on things you already know. And there's a lot of different knowledge out there that you may not have thought of. That's why we bring multiple people together when we're discussing a problem, usually like in work or in our life or something. Put a fresh set of eyes on it and see how they're doing and what they're doing. And is there a way you can improve it? Is there a way you can make it more efficient? Something like that. So an instructor who still trains is someone who's constantly trying to improve their knowledge base. And that's someone who you're really going to want to associate with.
They call it in the professional world continuing education.
Right.
If you've got any sort of, serious technical skills, they're going to be asking you to continuing to grow those skills throughout your career and not just be, all right, I passed this test once in the 70s. I'm good forever.
Number 2, an instructor who says you need to train with others. Now, if you go to an instructor and they say they are the be all and end all, they know everything. That's BS.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know everything. Adding on the instructor who still trains, a good instructor will know their area of specialty. I would not go to an instructor who talks about how his specialty is, pistol defense and ask him to do a long range rifle course.
Mm-hmm.
Know what the specialty is of the person you are inquiring with. And if someone says they know everything, granted, a trainer may be skilled in those other areas, but very rarely are you going to come across a legitimate, really well-known instructor who is just across the board, knows everything, long range, pistol, everything else. They're all going to have their own specialty. So, and then also an instructor who doesn't have an attitude towards other people who are in the industry of, I don't want you to train with anybody else because I'm the best. You don't want that. They have to know their limitations, and that's a big saying that I see also is stay in your lane.
Mm-hmm.
Stay in your lane.
That's something I see infiltrating a lot of stuff. And actually, I saw pop up a lot when NRA introduced Carry Guard. was all these instructors with carry guard. God, they were talking about, oh, I'm an ex-Navy SEAL, I'm a this, I'm a that, and all that. I'm like, that's great, awesome. Thank you for your service. What the heck does that have to do with me carrying a gun?
Right, exactly.
You know, I could definitely see someone who's, from a law enforcement background. Okay, most cops are carrying guns very, very similar to how we carry them. There might be some differences as far as, a few minor things, but as a general rule, a police officer's carrying his gun to protect himself or herself from a threat. And that's exactly what I'm doing. Versus someone who, oh no, you're going in to defuse a hostage situation. Oh, you're going into a battlefield to secure an area. This is not what I'm doing. I'm never going to have to stack up with a few friends and clear a house that's not mine. The even idea that I might have to clear my own house. No, if my house is full of bad guys, I'm just going to call the cops and say, "Cool, tell me when you're done so I can go back to my house."
And then number 3, the instructor has to have a certain amount of credibility, reputation as a great instructor, not just, like you said, the NRA certification. I mean, there's a lot more to it. There's a lot of layers to the onion for this whole thing. And then also you need to consider what character, what reputation does that instructor have? Because if you're ever involved in some sort of situation, guess what the DA is going to do that's prosecuting you?
Mm-hmm.
They're going to look at, where did you take firearms courses? Who's that instructor? What kind of reputation do they have? If you wouldn't want that instructor in front of a judge or a district attorney, you probably shouldn't train with that person.
Yeah, that's great advice.
People may disagree with me, but sorry, I understand. Oh, well, he's great. I don't care what the DA says. Yeah, well, it doesn't matter what you care about what the DA says. It matters what the jury says, and it matters what the judge says. So, sorry, but just because your perception does not match up with what everybody else thinks does not make you not guilty.
Another angle too is there's a couple of people that I've heard, I'm not going to name any names, but where I've heard people defending him saying, no, they're actually a really great guy. Just their online persona is more hardcore, is more combative, is more problematic, I guess you could say. And they're ginning up controversy to get eyeballs and bring people in and all that. All right, great. You could go to this trainer and they're as level-headed and calm and sober as anybody else, and they give great instructions and it's wonderful stuff. But if they're saying awful stuff online and just completely doing, a prosecutor is going to be able to confuse, will try to confuse a jury between, the myth and the reality.
It's not your perception. It's what they can make everybody else's perception to be.
And let's be honest, like if you're sitting in the defendant box after having a, hopefully a righteous shoot, nobody in the jury box is going to know who Jeff Cooper is. Nobody in the jury box isn't going to know who Grant Cunningham is. It's just, we're in the firearms world here. We're geeks. We're nuts on this stuff. So these people have other interests. They're going to be able to name all the Kardashians, which I can't do. So they don't have any starting point. So they're going to learn everything in that courtroom.
Right.
So let's make sure that everything they learn is going to be good. And there's no way that someone's going to be able to spin it the other way.
I think that's a pretty good discussion. So with that, we'll head into the wrap-up section and close out the show. Don't forget to shop Brownells using our affiliate link. Head to firearmsradio.tv and click the affiliate link in the upper right-hand corner. Be sure to go like Handgun Radio on Facebook and share it with your friends and leave us a review on iTunes. Listen to all the great shows on the Firearms Radio Network. Be sure to check out the Firearms Radio Network on YouTube. And Weird, thank you for coming on. Where can people find you, and where can people find the Assorted Calibers podcast?
Well, you can find me at my blog, which is weirdworld.com, and you can find the Assorted Calibers podcast at assortedcalibers.com. We've got the Assorted Calibers podcast Facebook group and Assorted Calibers podcast everywhere where you can find your podcasting needs.
There'll be links to that in the show notes. So thanks again, Weird.
Well, thanks for having me.
And until next week, have fun and safe shooting.